Thanks, Sam. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, thumbs up if we can see the slides. Perfect. Alrighty, thank you, Sam, for the introduction and welcome everyone. So hi, all. Thanks for coming along to our seminar today. My name's Lauren and I'm presenting on behalf of my colleagues Lisa and Marianne. And we'll be sharing insights from our recent work on supporting social work and counselling students during cross-cultural clinical placements. So this work builds off of the collaborative efforts of Lisa and Marianne in their roles as placement supervisors at the Griffith University Health Clinic and the Griffith Counselling and Wellbeing Service. And we have many students placed in the clinic, that's for social work, and also for counselling students in the counselling service. And those students oftentimes are international students that come from different cultural backgrounds. So our aim in this research was to better understand the unique experiences of these students as they engage in cross-cultural work with clients and communities from diverse backgrounds. And so as both researchers and practitioners, we wanted to know and explore how their experiences could inform more tailored, supportive programming for future placements. And so to do this, we conducted an online focus group with students, 9 students from a range of countries. We had several students from India, Thailand, Singapore, Zimbabwe, Fiji, the US, and Australia. And before we collected our data, we did gain Griffith ethics approval. Again, our goal was to understand students' thoughts about themselves being culturally diverse and about their experiences working cross-culturally with different members of the community, clients, and other students that utilize the services as well. So what we did is we thematically analysed the focus group data. And while there were many themes that did emerge, today we're just going to be focusing on a few of those highlights that are particularly practical and relevant for you. So students reflected on their own cultural identities and their experiences working with others from different backgrounds. And many shared that they actually felt comfortable in these cross-cultural interactions and found validation in the shared experiences with their peers. What stood out as one of the highlights was the natural formation of a community of practice amongst the students. And this was seen as both formal and informal. Students supported each other through discussing situations that came up at placement. They also went on agency visits together. They went to work-related events and social gatherings. They also created a WhatsApp group where they were able to communicate and connect with one another outside of the placement and in outside settings. They shared meals together, they went out to eat, and they really leaned on one another emotionally and professionally. We also saw that there was a strong engagement in peer learning and mentoring. Students really guided each other and healed each other through their shared understanding and validation of experiences. So, for example, we had a student that initially felt pressured to change her accent as clients had found it hard to understand. But through conversations with her peers, she came to embrace her identity and realized that the communication was what was really important as opposed to conforming her accent. So this led to a really powerful moment of self-acceptance and self-love for that student. So of course, there were also challenges that were identified by the students. Students reported difficulties with communication, so interpersonal skills, cultural differences, understanding what things mean, as well as the slang and accents and also just language as well. Australian expression was quite hard for some of the international students to grasp at first and the slang as well, but students were sometimes able to piece together what the client meant. But what also happened was that we had, students that when they were talking to a client, they didn't quite catch the full context because they were missing and not understanding the slang. And so they didn't quite get all the full context and often hesitated to ask for clarification, fearing that they may appear unprepared or foolish if they ask for some clarification. We also heard from the students that there were some deeper cultural tensions. So, for example, a lot of the students were from more collectivist cultures, and they found it quite challenging to navigate the individualistic norms in Australian settings. Another one of the challenges was the assumptions and biases, so based on names and accents. So this was from both the clients and the students themselves. Students mentioned that sometimes they made their own assumptions if they saw a client's name, particularly if it's a name from the student's home country, they would form some assumptions and biases prior to contacting that client. But on the other hand, students also felt that clients made assumptions on them, both based on usually their accent and give their name if they caught it as well. And there are many times that students expressed that they would call clients and they would get hung up on because they assumed that they were cold callers, even though they were reminding them about their appointment. And the supervisors, Marianne and Lisa, were able to normalize this and give students tips on how to navigate that. Mental health stigma also came up as a challenge. Many of our students come from cultures where mental health is taboo, and some had never accessed support before coming to Australia. And so that was something that they had to navigate if they needed to access those resources for themselves, which many of them did. There was also feelings of inferiority that came up when we were talking to students in the focus group. Particularly, we found that it was when students were talking to clients that were in different academic or occupation groups. So in particular, uh, clients that were studying medicine or interacting with members of the dominant culture, particularly white males, there were some feelings of inferiority there. Though many students did express feeling comfortable interacting with those from the same culture and also with females. So despite these challenges, students identified several key supports that helped them navigate their placement. So peers and colleagues were really important to them, especially those that were culturally diverse. Also their friends that were from within and also outside their own cultural group. Family, particularly parents, were very supportive. Supervisors, this came up throughout the entire focus group, is that Lisa and Mary Ann, who also identify as culturally diverse, were seen as especially helpful in guiding students through these complex dynamics. And then also other international students that they had bonded with on campus that shared similar struggles and were able to support the students. So we want to share a few ideas that were implemented throughout the program that we found were beneficial and that what students found beneficial as well. And so the scaffolding was really important as a support throughout the placement journey. And this really helped students be their unique selves. So it really starts with from the orientation and getting the students together, talking about their culture, getting them to express themselves, and then continuing this throughout the program and in group and individual supervision. And we saw that this was sustained by the creation of the students and their community of practice amongst themselves. So they could identify issues in those spaces, but also normalize them and find strategies to deal with them. Some ideas that we engaged in and that were implemented were cultural icebreakers during orientation. So Marianne and Lisa used the name meaning activities, so having students share the meaning behind their names, as there are often strong meanings in some cultures about names. So asking students to tell us something unique about their name and share it with a partner, this allows them to share a piece of themselves with one another, something that may not have organically happened. And you can also do this with food, as we know that food is a central part of community and sharing. And so having students share their favorite food, what is attached to that food, because there can be many emotions attached and cultural significance to that food. There was also encouragement of cultural celebrations that we engaged in and storytelling to foster connection. So at the end of trimester celebration, students brought a food that was important to them that they could share with others. And they got to learn about each other and their different cultures. And this is because there was predominantly international students at the placement, and they would bring food from, their home country. And lastly, promoting cultural humility. And so recognizing that we don't need to know everything about someone's culture, but we can bring curiosity, respect, and a willingness to learn, and just reinforcing the value of the students' lived experiences and creating spaces where those experiences are honored and supported. So that was just a really brief, quick overview and the highlights of our research and just some ideas and suggestions that we had. We're currently in the process of writing up our findings and preparing a manuscript to submit for publication. And we look forward to disseminating the findings with you. If you're interested, please let us know. Thank you so much for your time and for the vital role that you play in shaping the next generation of healthcare professionals. We hope that you found our presentation useful and are able to incorporate some of the ideas if appropriate. If you'd like to stay connected or learn more, please feel free to reach out to me or my colleagues via LinkedIn or email, and we'd love to continue the conversation. Thanks, everyone.
So thank you so much, Lauren. That was fantastic, and your timing was perfect. So thank you for sticking to time.